In this video, I will answer 3 questions on heat transfer by thermal radiation. There are 2 other forms of heat transfer, and these are namely conduction and convection. But in this video, I'm not going to talk about conduction and convection. I'm just going to concentrate on thermal radiation. Conduction and convection will be covered in 2 separate videos. So in order to look at the question of thermal radiation as a form of heat transfer, in other textbooks they just call it radiation. They just say, oh, there's three forms of heat transfer, and they are radiation, conduction, and convection. But here I'm going to talk about thermal radiation. So I'm trying to be very specific as to the fact that the radiation that we are talking about is thermal. It has to do with heat, because there's other forms of radiation which have got nothing to do with heat. So let's look at the 3 questions that I'm going to answer in this video. Now, the first question is, what is thermal radiation? The next question is, do all objects give off thermal radiation? And the last one is, how does thermal radiation depend on the temperature of an object? To answer the first question, what is thermal radiation? Thermal radiation is the transfer of heat by electromagnetic waves, and it is the infrared part of the electromagnetic spectrum which is being used to transfer the heat. Now, this is how heat is transferred from the sun to us here on Earth. And to add a bit more information on that, in electromagnetic waves, they transfer either energy or information by the fluctuation of electric and magnetic fields, and the electric field and the magnetic field are at right angles to each other. So the question of what is thermal radiation can be answered by saying that it is the transfer of heat energy by electromagnetic waves. Now, the second question was, do all objects give off thermal radiation? And the answer to that question is a simple yes. All objects give off thermal radiation, because all objects have some kind of kinetic activity, or some movement of particles taking place. And the fact that particles are moving implies that they are at some temperature above absolute zero. Now, if they are at some temperature above absolute zero, then yes, they are going to emit some level of thermal radiation, which then leads us to the last question. And the last question is, how does thermal radiation depend on the temperature of an object? And so it is obvious now that because the objects have different levels of kinetic activity with their particles, it means that they are going to give off a range of temperatures. And so the hotter the object is, the more thermal radiation that it's going to emit. And the reverse to that is true. So the colder the object is, the less activity in terms of movement that it has, and so the less thermal radiation that is going to emit. And so I've just answered the 3 questions. The first question was, what is thermal radiation? And the answer to that was that thermal radiation is heat transfer by electromagnetic waves using the infrared part of the electromagnetic spectrum. Do all objects give off thermal radiation? And the answer is yes, all objects give off thermal radiation. And the last question is, does that thermal radiation depend on the temperature of the object? And the answer is yes, it depends on the temperature of the object. The hotter the object is, the more thermal radiation it gives, and the less temperature it has, or the colder it is, then the less thermal radiation it's going to emit. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, you can just post them in the comments below, And also, if you'd like to see more videos on physics, and I will be doing some videos on biology and chemistry as well. If you want to watch more of those videos, just subscribe to my channel, and you'll be able to see a lot more of these videos, which I'm still in the process of making.